The Ozarks have too many cryptids to get into. Fortunately, they're either benign or intelligent. Majority can be bribed with food and chewing tobacco. Just offer food or tobacco and ask for any seemingly hostile creature's hospitality. You'll be fine. Those aren't cryptids, just rednecks. Around the Ozarks, I would be way more worried about wandering water people though. Wandering water people? Please do tell. I'm from near the lake of the Ozarks. People who drink the tap water around here turn a certain way, even if you aren't from here, which is actually a lot of people since some time ago a lakefront property was cheap and there was a big rush to snatch it all. As people spread out over the years, they moved to different parts of the Ozarks, but if they drank the tap water, well, it's kind of like the ghouls that you see that get reported from Africa, but it can happen to literally anyone who drinks the tap water. They shamble around as passive non-people in the cities, but you can ignore them, since everyone in Missouri conceal carries and has a rifle in their car/truck. If they leave town, however, they turn feral. Again, camping is alright, since there are tons of armed people around here. But if you are out hiking or doing anything alone, you are at risk of being attacked. These aren't hicks, rednecks, or hillbillies, nor are they cryptids. Anyways, Missouri experiences every kind of weather once a week, so we're always on the edge of some kind of catastrophe. When that happens, all the water people rush to the stores to buy all the bread and cheap local tap water. They don't walk, they shamble. They don't talk, they mumble. They always refuse to take the right of way, passing everyone on until they are the last to turn. That is how passive these people are, which creates a not so hilarious situation when two water people are at an intersection, trying to battle it out for who can be last to go for a light. Southeast Missouri is prone to flooding, being so close to the Mississippi. Well, at the edge of the Ozarks and rice fields are colonies of water people who, being stupid, build their houses on the floodplain. Every year it floods, and every year they are shocked that their property is destroyed. And then, over time, their colonies deteriorate. We aren't to the point that they are in total ruins, so who knows what will happen when their houses get condemned. They will probably shuffle on to the next town. Nobody here really knows where they get their money, although I suspect it's from cooking meth and robbing people in the woods. And when I say they cook meth, really, non-water people do the hard parts for them, and they just sit around and watch as their house turns into a bomb. I'm not scared of skinwalkers, ELMLs, or even the ATF burning my house down, but agitated water people. I ran into a horde once. They form when the supermarkets run out of bread and water during crises. Obviously, being a commando, I have emergency food stored for quite some time. But I went into a grocery store once during a tornado watch not thinking about it, and nearly got mauled by an angry water person. They aren't just the stupid. There are too many of them. These aren't your normal NPCs either. Worse than that. This is why Missouri is basically a mandatory conceal carry state. Shit, man. Do you have any idea what's in the water to cause that? Lead, maybe? When you say tap water, I assume you mean city water or bottled water, or is there something wrong with the entire watershed in that region? Also, would you care to share some stories of specific encounters? Because I'm not seeing what separates these people from any other feral displaced urbanites. You should send a bottle of that tap water to be tested by a lab, figure out what's in it. Would the authorities give a damn if you happen to kill some in self-defense? What are the relations between these water people and law enforcement, local government, the rest of the general populace? What I'm getting at here is that they are a lesser extent of zombies. Are you sure it's the water turning these people into ghouls, or is there a possibility that the gene pool there got so fucked up through inbreeding or whatever, or maybe there's a disease that only some people are susceptible to getting? Is there any directory of information on any of this? I'm just so curious, since I have a fascination with zombie-like concepts in real life. So it's probably not inbreeding, unless they've mutated into having breeding and growth cycles of rodents. Alternatively, perhaps all the new blood in the area attracted too much attention from cryptids, and they've all just been replaced. Something in the water. I think I watched or read a pasta or something about a situation similar to yours. A dude either accidentally or intentionally drinking tap water and starts having hallucinations. The water thingy might possibly be linked to some chemical or parasite that mixes with the tap water. My best bet is to map the waterways where the tap water is being sourced from. Bonus points if you found FEMA, CDC, mining, CIA, or some petroleum company doing something irresponsible or shady. Local brands of bottled water are bottled in various cities that produce water people. You either need well water, filtered water, or bottled water from out of state to avoid becoming a water person. Also worth noting is the immediate passiveness goes away if people leave, but generally the lifestyle habits they adopt whilst becoming a water person have a more permanent effect. This spring, when Missouri had all of that flooding, a ton of people showed up at my work looking for emergency relief. I kept tabs on some of the people I suspected were water people. Normally, by now, regular people have their houses prepared for winter. Not the water people. They wanted the standing water out, and that was about it. They were willing to leave the water damage and mold. That is the standard descriptors, like a meth addict. Most are. Stained clothes, poor hygiene, poor form. They are easy to identify. One time, at another job, a water person was stealing from where I worked. It was inane shit like collectible minifigures, some headphones, so I go and monitor this guy while law enforcement is on the way. So, I'm corner peeking the guy with my phone, and the guy rushes me with a knife that he stole and opened, so I get the fuck out, because I was not losing my job over some guy that stole $30 in random small shit. Nor was I getting stabbed and risking my life for it. Apparently, his girlfriend was there playing lookout. They didn't come in together. They shambled around separately, and she never said anything, and he didn't even have a phone. I don't know how they communicated, or even knew I was there. There was this house of them up the hill from me. Their daughter was shambling down a 5-lane road at dusk, flipping people off and being a nuisance, and just past the crest of the hill, a high-profile local banker slammed into her with his truck. Needless to say, she died on impact. The water people got really angry about that, especially after he got let off, considering she was in the roadway over a hill, on a road with a speed limit of 55. I suspect it's something that causes lethargy. I know it sounds like drug addicts. I've lived other places, like Washington and Texas, and they don't have this kind of thing going on. I was talking to a man from Memphis once, and he told me how the people around here are not like the people anywhere else. We have castle laws. If you get attacked, you can kill the other person in reasonable self-defense. Law enforcement is generally non-water people, since you actually have to try to be a cop around here, and they deal with them enough that they have their own ways of identifying them. You don't get in trouble if you defend yourself from water people, but you will if you agitated them. Rich people and middle-class people know that something is wrong with these people, but most haven't traveled enough to realize to the extent how different they are from the people in other places. As far as I can know, there isn't much gathered information on them. Again, they just get confused with your normal meth heads or rednecks. The big thing is that it can happen to foreigners. I wouldn't be surprised if some Native American tribe cursed the land with the shit. The Ozarks are old swampland. Maybe it is parasites in the water. I'll probably research the waterways a bit, see if I can find out more for you guys. Just whatever you do, don't come to Missouri unarmed, like that would ever happen on K. The Ozarks. Isn't that entire area littered with karst formations? Probably something in those underwater caves that is doing it. I did ask my uncle about water people. He didn't know what I meant, so I showed him this and he said, no idea what that is. Though my friend in Arkansas thinks Missouri, he did say it like this, didn't think to ask why. Water is intentionally irradiated though, so that might explain certain behaviors your friend is noticing. Fucking how and why does he think that? The government uses Missouri to store nuclear waste. It's a shitty place to do that, and friend is a paranoid guy. That said, he's almost always right. Water people are real. What the fuck? I thought they were a legend cooked up by idiots on the internet. I grew up around an old Africa hen merc who said the Congo snake was a baby, and the really big shit is where there is nowhere to land, even if you parachuted in. And there was a big city underground that was mostly sunken and full of snakes, and he said, goddamn fucking spiders the size of a car that you had to use a shotgun on. He said by 76, they got industrial quantities of dangerous insecticide and started defoliating 100 square miles of that shit. He said there were baboons that were 6 feet tall and would eat anything that moved they could catch. He said everywhere he went for work, there were freakish shit he was never told about in school, and he was some old money type of guy who was college educated. He was the one who told me about the spider nests in Congo and Zaire, and then exactly described Benzo Baranzan from D&D, years before any of the books were written. He also said he met an Afriti who was the best dude and most stand-up guy he ever met in his life. He lived alone since his wife died, and had his house covered in shit from Africa and Asia like masks and weapons. The Afriti was terrifying looking from the wall scroll. He said it greatly resembled his brother. He described several kinds of spiders and insects. He fucking hated insects. You got bit, you died. The 9-ball. The ass end was round and had the exact same shade of yellow as a 9-ball, just striped, 4 feet long, and dripped shit that stank like 90W gear oil. The lavender ladies, lavender and mottle gray, could blend into rocks, and if you weren't paying attention, you would miss seeing them move. They bite your shit, and it rotted off. He said when he poked one with a stick that he carried to poke for snakes, it stuck to the needle like hairs. The ones the size of apples that were brown and yellow. A spider that looked like limp vegetables or lichen. Then there was the citrus fruit smelling ones that would hide in rocks and make a smell that would attract large animals. These animals would then get wrapped up and eaten. Poison worms, cockroaches the size of dachshunds, water skimmers a foot tall, and mantises who were 7 feet tall. Had other followers smaller insects, and brought him and his men out of a cave that was full of spiders one night, and cured one of his men of the pox, and a bullet in his hip that could not be removed. He never saw them again, and that was why he left Africa. Any further info? Most fascinating post I've read on 4chan, to be honest with you, and I've been around. Are there large centipedes like in Vietnam? What kind of reptiles are around? Is Michele Mbembe real? He had pictures on slides, tens of thousands of them. When he died in 2000, I was sick as hell, and didn't find out till early 2001. He had things he called vile birds that had intelligence and evil malicious eyes. They hunted in groups. That had to be during the late 60s. It looked ridiculous, like some shit from a yokai painting with big googly eyes. He said they were inedible. I had no idea on if the insects were the same as Vietnam. I'm in my 40s, and grew up hearing old man Eric bitch and moan about Africa and Central Asia. I've seen quite a few slides, and half the shit looks like something out of a nightmare, and the other half almost comical. He said fae are real, as the stories his nanny told him. He said he just wanted to die in his own bed, and not be eaten by some shit out of a nightmare. He refused to open his windows, and had my dad help him put one of those fans in, that they have in stores, to keep flies and bugs out, over all his exterior doors. He hid steel security bars on the windows and doors. Man had legit intelligence enemies though. There was this story about a big worm or slug that poured shit out of its ass everywhere, that wasn't a snake. He also said big snakes that can and do eat men like they are cattle are a dime a dozen in Africa, and his stories about African wild men, those stories were gross and fucked up. He said they hinged their jaws, almost dislocating it to eat babies head first and chickens. It would assault animals too. They put out a staking goat and broke its leg, and within 5 minutes, it came crashing out of the bush with a great big boner and a grin. He shot all these things and took photos, and no one believed him when they saw the slides. I have PTSD from his slides and the old films he had. His daughter was wretched and stripped the house bare and sold it all. Tore out him and his wife's beautiful garden that I slaved away working on. Be me. Be in college in Baltimore, MD. Be commuter student. Driving to campus to spend the night at a friend's. 8 p.m. Takes about 30 minutes to get to campus. Seen missing. End up putting a ticket into BWI airport kiosk to enter the airport. Enter airport parking lot. Question why I'm there and what am I doing? Did I take a wrong turn? Wait, Why did I take a ticket? Look at clock. It's 11:45 p.m. Look at phone. 11:45 p.m. 5 missed calls. Panic attack. Why was I at the airport? Why did I put a ticket in the machine? Where was I going? I have never been so scared in my whole life. I totally lost 3 hours of time with no explanation at all. I have had something slightly similar to this. Be parked on the side of the road in a bush. No phone signal. Having a nap for 20 minutes because it's about 11 p.m. and we have been driving for 6 hours. Youngest sister doesn't sleep, just reads with her phone light. Wake up after those 20 minutes due to alarms we set, and then drive the last hour home. Suddenly get signal on my phone. 3 missed calls. Relative watching the house says, "Holy shit, we're late." They were worried we'd had an accident or something like that. Huh? Locks at home are 4 hours ahead of what was in the car and on our phones. Somehow, we had slept for 4 hours and not 20 minutes, and our car clock plus mobiles had stopped during that time. None of us could explain it. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you do and you want to hear more, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below, as it lets the algorithm know that you like my content and it promotes it to more people. My goal for the channel is to hit 50,000 subscribers, and we're closing in fast, so thank you, and back to the stories. Times you almost got murdered. Times you almost were legitimately murdered. I've got one that's not paranormal, but the idea of it is still scary. Be in high school on the wrestling team. Team is traveling from NY to MA to participate in some tournament hosted by another school. Stay at some crappy motel in bumfuck coastal town. Don't know what the town is called, but it was small and along the water with a lot of fishing boats. My friends and I sneak out around midnight to go and smoke. Go to some business that is right next to the motel. Don't know what business it was, but it had a bench right out front that we sat on. Sit there smoking for about 30 minutes before we realize how weird the place that we were smoking is. All over the outside walls are signs like, "We don't call 911," with a picture of a gun. There is actually like 60 or so signs similar to that all over the front of the place. The bench we were sitting on is outside. There are no fences keeping people out, and we were practically on the sidewalk, so we think it's fine. Later on, a truck pulls into the front of the store. It's a huge custom truck. It's raised, has blacked out windows, etc. Decide it must be the owner, so we get up to leave. We step off the property and walk to the hotel when all of a sudden, immensely bright lights are ignited behind us, casting our shadows along in front of us. We turn around. The truck turned its high beams on. It has several massive floodlights attached to it that are blinding. Then the driver starts revving his engine. We get scared and start sprinting towards the motel. The car chases us. He cuts off our way to the entrance of the motel and continues to chase us. Me and my friend run into the parking lot, and my other friend does a Dark Souls roll out of the way to avoid being hit. He literally avoided the truck by half a foot. The guy is actually trying to kill us. Chases us for about 5 minutes. I tell my friend to lay flat and hide under the cars. We do this, but we are cut off from our other friend and don't know where he is. I tell my friend to follow me. We army crawl under the cars, using them as cover as the truck circles the parking lot. Whenever he gets close, we stop moving and stay still under the car, so he won't see us between the gaps of the cars. Eventually we make it to the end of the row of cars. We are about 30 feet from the entrance to the motel. We decided to wait for the car to be on the opposite end of the parking lot and then make a run for it. As soon as we got up, the truck turned around and went full speed toward us. We barely managed to make it safely inside. Now the truck is circling the motel. A staff member is inside. Looks literally like he's only 18 or something. Our other friend is with him, saying he managed to make it inside about 10 minutes ago. Tell the front desk guy what happened. Guy said he'll call the cops, but I don't think he did, because they never showed up. We go to our room, kinda in shock about what just happened. We close the blinds and peek out of the window. The fucking truck is still circling around the motel. Worried we would have to tell the school staff about sneaking out to smoke in order to get help. After a while, the truck stops. The door opens. A man literally like 5'2" climbs down from the truck. He has a bottle of liquor in his hand that he is drinking. The bottle is more than half empty by that point. Next day, we tell other classmates, but not the teacher. We leave around 6 a.m. on the bus, pass by the business. Looks like a mechanic shop. Truck is in the driveway. So yeah, some manlet tried to kill me with his giant truck. Anyone got any more stories? I am 19 years old, and I've lived my whole life in a quiet little town with only about 800 people in total. Not much ever changes here. Folks live slow, real slow. You get up early, go to work, maybe stop by the diner for lunch, then sit on the porch in the evening and talk about the weather. People say nothing ever happens here, but that's not really true. Some strange things have happened. There is one place in town everyone avoids. It's just called The Hill. No fancy name, just The Hill. It's simple. It is dangerous and off limits. When we were kids, our parents warned us to never go near it. Don't play there. Don't even look at it too long, they would say. But nobody ever told us why. They would just get quiet or change the subject, which only made us all the more curious. Of course, there were rumors. Kids love stories. Some said a cult lived there. Others said people went missing. But they were just whispers. Nothing we could actually prove. I always thought it was just a scary story to keep us from wandering off. Then, one night, Joe dared me to go with him. Joe is 2 years older than me. He's 21 now. He's always been like a big brother. Brave, tough, maybe a little stupid sometimes. But the kind of guy you want on your side. We've been best friends since we were little. It was a hot summer night when we were kids, and we couldn't sleep. We were talking about ghosts and monsters like kids do, and somehow the conversation turned to the hill. I bet that cold stuff ain't even real, Joe said, staring up at the ceiling. I shrugged. Maybe not. Then he grinned and said, "Wanna go find out?" I froze. I wanted to say no, but of course I didn't. I didn't want him to think I was scared, even if I was. We grabbed the flashlights and slipped out the back door just after midnight. The streets were empty except for the scent of bugs and gravel crunching under our shoes. The air felt thick, like a storm was coming. It took us about 10 minutes to reach the hill. At night it looked bigger. The grass moved like waves in the dark, and the moon made everything feel colder than it should have been. We climbed slowly, keeping our lights low. At the top, we peeked over the edge and saw about 20 people standing in a circle near the base of the hill, under the big old oak tree. They wore long black robes and plain white masks, featureless masks. Each held a candle, and they were chanting something we couldn't understand. The sound wasn't even words. It felt like it buzzed in your bones. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. Then Joe slipped. His foot caught a loose rock, and it tumbled down the hill with a loud crack. The chanting stopped, and every head turned toward us. We didn't wait. We ran through the grass, down the far side of the hill, and then across the tracks. I swear I heard someone chasing us, but I never looked back. I was too scared to. We didn't stop until we were behind Joe's house. Our hearts were pounding, lungs burning. We collapsed in the backyard and stayed quiet for a long time. After that night, we never really talked about what we saw. We just moved on, sort of. But every time I walked past that hill, I felt like someone was watching me. Years passed. We finished school and started working. The town stayed quiet on the outside, but that feeling, the one that tells you something is not right, it never left me. A few months ago, Joe came to me with a strange look. "Have you ever thought about going back?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. Part of me had thought about it too. The other part wanted to forget it forever. "We're older now," he said. "We can handle it. Maybe even find out what's really going on." I should have said no, but I didn't, again. So we went back. This time, we brought better flashlights, pocket knives just in case, and our phones. It was around 1 a.m. when we got to the hill again. The grass was still tall, the wind still quiet. Everything looked the same but felt worse somehow. We climbed to the top and looked down. Nothing. No circle, no candles, no chanting. We started to relax, thinking maybe it was just a weird memory. Then Joe tapped me on my shoulder and pointed. Something was under the tray. We crept down quietly, trying not to make a sound. When we got close, I saw it. A circle of rocks, fresh, like someone had just made it. In the middle sat a small wooden box. Joe bent down and opened it. Inside were 5 white masks, old but clean, untouched by time or weather. Suddenly, we both felt it. We weren't alone. The air shifted, cold swept in. I looked around and saw shadowy figures standing just beyond the trees, watching us. We dropped the box and ran. That night we didn't go home. We drove 2 towns over and slept in Joe's truck at a gas station. We never told anyone, not our parents, not our friends, but we both agreed on one thing. We will never go back to the hill again. Be 12 years old, just joined Boyscouts. This month's camping trip will be working on Wilderness Survival Merit Badge. Requires us to forego tents and only use sleeping bags. We have to build our own personal shelter with tree limbs, logs, leaves, etc. It's sometime in early fall in southeastern PA, so temperatures get chilly at night, but not unbearable. Being a lazy son of a bitch, I just found a big tree that forked off down its center and leaned limbs in it to make a leaning shelter. Throw a bunch of leaves and sticks on top of it for insulation. Half of it falls through the limbs, but I don't care. Spend the next 3 hours until dusk fishing and playing games with other kids. Nighttime comes around. Everyone goes for their shelters. Sitting in my piece of crap pile of sticks, watching the stars. Purposefully set up my area away from everyone else because I had smuggled out contraband. 5-gallon jug of apple juice. Fuck yeah, good juice is good. Keep drinking to kill the boredom. Light drizzle begins. Oh shit. Try and go to sleep. Maybe 30 minutes pass by and my stomach is rumbling. The apple juice I have been drinking has triggered a nuclear meltdown in my shit reactor. Knock over what's left of my shelter, standing up quickly to run and poop. Run 50 or so feet away before immediately squatting. 30 seconds straight of liquid poop turds and farts blaring through the woods. More keeps coming every time I think I am done. Half asleep, not knowing if more poop will come out. Hear a sudden noise and turn around as a flashlight shines into my eyes. Try to run. Pants around ankles, slip in wet leafy poop. I scream out really loudly and try to roll away. Hear a voice yell, "Oh, what the fuck?" Scoutmaster comes running over a few seconds later. Had apparently decided to bring everyone in due to the weather. Finds me in this position, thinking he has come upon some perverse scene. Man runs off. Scoutmaster alerts park rangers and authorities. Amber alert is issued. Story in paper about near abduction. Almost 15 years later, and still, no one knows I took the juice.